What has your child's school done that made you so mad? My 8-year-old daughter came home from school and immediately ran to her room without saying hello. That was weird because she's usually chatty about her day. When I went to check on her, she was sitting on her bed crying. I asked what was wrong and she said she'd had an accident during lunch and wet herself. She told me she'd asked the teacher 3 times if she could use the bathroom during math class, but the teacher said no because they were in the middle of a lesson. The first time she raised her hand, Mrs. Monroe snapped at her to wait. The second time, she got told to focus on her worksheet. The third time, Mrs. Monroe actually rolled her eyes and said, "You should have gone during recess." My daughter explained she did try during recess, but the bathroom was locked for cleaning. She went to the office to ask for help, but the secretary told her to go back to class. During science class, she raised her hand again. Mrs. Monroe ignored her completely. My daughter started fidgeting in her seat, trying to hold it. In reading time, she whispered to her friend about needing the bathroom. Mrs. Monroe heard her and moved her desk away from everyone else as punishment for talking. By lunchtime, she couldn't hold it anymore and had a small accident. Instead of helping her, Mrs. Monroe announced to the lunch monitor that my daughter had an accident because she doesn't listen to instructions. The lunch monitor made her sit at a separate table. Other kids started pointing and whispering. My daughter begged to call me, but the monitor said no phone calls during lunch. After lunch, Mrs. Monroe made her return to class in the wet clothes. She had to sit through art class while kids covered their noses. During art, she tried to clean herself with paper towels from the supply closet. Mrs. Monroe caught her and accused her of wasting supplies. She made my daughter throw away the paper towels and sit back down. The smell got worse as the afternoon went on. In PE class, the gym teacher noticed something was wrong. My daughter finally broke down and told him what happened. Instead of helping, he sent her back to Mrs. Monroe. Mrs. Monroe told her this was a natural consequence for not managing her time better. She made my daughter write sentences about following classroom rules while sitting in wet clothes. During the final hour, kids started openly laughing. One boy made a joke about babies wearing diapers. Mrs. Monroe heard it, but did nothing to stop the teasing. My daughter spent the bus ride home trying to hide the stain with her backpack. She sat alone because no one wanted to sit near her. When I heard this, I was seeing red. I immediately called the school and demanded to speak to the principal. The secretary tried to schedule me for next week. I told her I was coming right now. I drove straight to the school and marched into the office. The principal tried to calm me down, but I was having none of it. I demanded Mrs. Monroe come to the office immediately. When she arrived, I asked her how she'd feel sitting in wet clothes all day while people laughed at her. She started making excuses about classroom management and bathroom policies. I cut her off and told her that humiliating children isn't teaching, it's cruelty. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I told her to explain to the camera why she thought it was appropriate to torture an 8-year-old. She got flustered and looked to the principal for help. The principal stepped in and tried to defend the teacher's actions. I went straight to the superintendent's office that same day. I filed a formal complaint and demanded immediate action. The next morning, I showed up at the classroom with the local news crew I'd contacted. Mrs. Monroe saw us through her window and immediately called the office. The principal came running down the hallway, trying to get us to leave. I refused to move until they addressed this publicly. Within an hour, the school board president arrived. They held an emergency meeting that afternoon. Mrs. Monroe got suspended pending investigation. 2 weeks later, she was transferred to a different district.